Welcome back. It's James, also known as Chungy Chung. We're going to get started with hip internal rotation in the 90-90. So get yourself in 90-90. We're going to start with the right leg in front of you, left leg behind you. Check your angles, right? So both knees should be at 90 degrees. Front shin parallel to your back thigh. Front thigh parallel to your back shin, okay? Now to mobilize or stretch passively internal rotation, take both your hands, place them behind you and lean onto them, lean back, and rotate your chest so that you're starting to face your back knee. You should notice that the more you rotate the chest, or the more you drop that left glute, the more of a mobilization you're going to get in that hip joint. And if you do this right, you should feel a deep capsular stretch, and it's almost like hard to pinpoint because it's so deep, so you're not really going to feel a specific muscle. Maybe you will, but generally you'll feel really like dull stretch deep in that pelvis. And you're just going to hang out here. While I give you options on how to manipulate this passive stretch, you can just hang out or you can kind of mess around with what I'm showing you. But if you're somebody who has a ton of flexibility and can rotate and have no issue, you want to take the slack out by getting a little more upright. And instead of rotating your spine, drop your pelvis a lot more to the ground. So it's as if you're trying to get your left glute to the ground. Will it happen? Maybe not, but that's the intention behind trying to mobilize and go deeper into that passive stretch. A couple of people generally tend to ask, like, is it okay if that right knee comes up or that front knee? For now, that's okay, because all I'm really focused on for you is to just feel the stretch in that left hip. So even if you rotate and that right knee comes up a little bit, that's fine. You should notice that actually if you intentionally let it come up, you can rotate a little further and you'll get a deeper stretch. So let's get started. We're going to go P.A.I.L's contraction first. For the P.A.L's contraction, you're pushing your back foot down into the ground, okay? So I'm going to count to 4. As I count up, you're going to try and crush the floor with your foot. Ready? 1, push that foot down. 2, push it even harder. 3, and 4. Hold. You're maximizing your effort for 5, 4, 3, 2. Big breath in, and just melt away. Good. Now we're going to do a R.A.I.L's contraction. This is going to be a little different, okay? So we're not going to stay in this position. I'm actually going to ask you to take your left hand, bring it back forward, and face your front knee. And I'll tell you why. If you're cranked into too much internal rotation passively, it tends to be the case where you won't be able to actively contract whatsoever. So I like to give your body a little slack by rotating back this way. From here, we're going to do a R.A.I.L's contraction. So now I'm going to count to 4. As I count up, instead of pushing down, I'm going to try and lift up. But I'm talking about like a millimeter, okay? You're not trying to lift like a whole foot, just as little as possible. So your foot is basically just trying to get as low, or sorry, as just trying to hover just slightly above the ground. Ready? 1, 2, so your back foot's getting lighter. 3, and 4, hold. So you're trying to put 0 weight on the floor, but you're not trying to lift up too high. You should feel a lot of this stuff contract. 3, 2, 1, melt away. Hands go back behind you. Let's go back into that internal rotation passive stretch because we're going to go one more round of P.A.I.L's. Start to push that foot down. 1, 2, 3. Safest maximal effort. 4. Keep pushing that foot down for 5, 4, 3, 2, and melt away. Face back forward. We're going to do a lift off or a R.A.I.L's contraction. We're going to try and hover that foot just barely off the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. You're trying to put 0 weight on the floor. Isolate that tension right there in that left hip. 3, 2, 1, and melt away. Oh, God, that kind of sucks. By the way, if you're cramping, it's okay. It just means you need to do this more. When you're contracting this stuff in that internal rotation R.A.I.L's, it's not something a lot of people do. So it just generally means you're missing some strength. It's okay. Feel free to back off, take a breather, but I promise you the more you do this, the better you're going to get at it. Hands go back behind you. We're going to do a 90-90 transfer. So if you remember this from my external rotation video, it's the same exact thing. Lift that left knee, open that groin, open that inside as you start to separate your knees. Now keep your right knee as far away from your left. As that left knee continues to go left, your right knee is going to come off the ground and transition towards midline. And you're going to slowly just continue. Slowly. Keep pushing your knees apart though. So this is where the isometric effort comes in. You're not just like, right? You're just really pushing apart as you slowly rotate over to the other side. Good. Now when my right knee drops, my left knee drops, I'm in the next 90-90. So let's review the position. 90-90, front shin parallel to your back thigh, front thigh parallel to your back shin, hands go back behind you and pivot right. Look for that stretch in that right hip capsule. So remember, we're mobilizing hip internal rotation. And just to review the options you have, you can get more upright and feel more of a stretch, or you can lean back and rotate a little bit. Remember to drop that right glute to the ground. That's what's going to give you that stretch you're looking for. Feel free to lift that left knee to give you a little bit more range or a little bit more mobilization. But just chill out. So while we're hanging here, I actually just want to talk about very quickly why hip internal rotation is so important. If you do any squatting or anything that involves a lot of deep hip flexion, where your knee is close to your chest, it's good to have some internal rotation to let that pelvis have some wiggle room when it's at end range. Part of the reason is it serves as a good buffer for stress at the knee as well. So the better your hip internal rotation is, the less your knee is going to feel the stress of when it actually buckles in or when you get those stresses on the inside. So that's why this is super, super important. This is why I love the 90-90. It's so easy to mobilize hip internal rotation. Okay, P.A.I.L's rails. 2 rounds. We're going to get nice and tall. I'm going to push the foot down into the ground, the right foot this time. And this is the P.A.I.L's contraction. Ready? 1, push that foot down. 2, 3, slowly ramp up your max effort. 4, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and melt away. We're going to do a rails contraction. Right hand comes forward. Now we're facing the left knee, so we're facing forward. We're going to try and hover the back foot slowly off the ground. Ready? 1, 2, nothing else moves. 3, 4. My foot is 0.5 millimeter off the ground right now, and I feel all of this right hip stuff working. 3, 2, 1, and melt away. Hands go behind you. One last round for P.A.I.L's. You're going to push down. 1, push that foot down. 2, trying to dent the earth with that right heel. 3, and 4, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and melt away. You should notice your right glute can drop a little bit and it goes deeper into that stretch. Face forward. Last rails contraction. I'm going to challenge you a little bit. If you want to make this more challenging, don't rotate so far forward. You can actually stay a little bit further rotated back. It's going to be very difficult, but try it out, okay? I'm actually going to try it out right now. So feel free to keep your hands in front of you in that front leg, or keep your hands upright and keep facing that back foot, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is a lot more difficult. Oh, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and melt away. So I don't know if you can tell from my poker face, but I'm really cramping right now. I'm just going to ignore it. Oh, okay, good. That went away. So that was 2 rounds of P.A.I.L's rails. We're going to finish up with one last transition over to the other side using that isometric movement path. Lift that right knee, flatten that right foot. Delay the left knee from coming up as long as possible. Now, once you've hit that limit, push your knees apart a little further as you slowly keep your knees coming apart. Keep your knees coming apart. Good. Start to cross the midline there. Drop that right knee. Slowly drop that left knee. And that was 90-90 for internal rotation. Slowly come off of that. Okay. Just to quickly review, we did about a 1.5 / 2 minute passive stretch for internal rotation. Then we did 2 rounds of P.A.I.L's rails. We worked a transition over to the next 90-90. We repeated that passive stretch for 1.5 to 2 minutes, and then added another 2 rounds of P.A.I.L's rails. Finished up with one last transition back to where we started. What I recommend you do is you repeat this maybe one more time, so you can feel free to rewind this video and do it all over again, or you can go into my external rotation P.A.I.L's rails video in the 90-90. And that's going to give you a really good combination. Either you can focus on just internal rotation or switch between internal external rotation, and you can create pretty much your own class, right? Or I also recommend you let me know if you have any issues, discomfort, or any questions on either video or any other video I have here on my playbook, and let me know what you think. Any recommendations, send them my way, because I also want to make videos for you. So if you did something and you want to focus on a little bit more, shoot me a message, let me know, and I will add it to the list. So, Chung out. Peace.